Homeless man finds life-changing documents. He was now faced with his own difficult choice. This one special number was the answer to his prayers, but other people might want it too. He realized just how many people he had lost over the years to the same dilemma. He held the document in his dirty hands. Bittersweet didn't come close to describing it. 62-year-old John Helinski was used to people ignoring him. Being homeless, people never wanted to look him in the eye, let alone help him. It had been a hard 4 years of living on the Tampa, Florida streets, and he slowly lost little pieces of himself along the way. There had only been one lucky break in all that time. The Daco Community Housing Center had a free slot. Having a dry bed and a warm place to sleep made all the difference. Having people around him give friendly smiles instead of uncomfortable glances was like a godsend. But when he set eyes on Officer Daniel McDonald, something felt wrong. The bulky, white-haired policeman had a reputation for being very stern. All he ever saw him do was break up fights, arrest people, or pull them out of the shelter for unknown reasons. In the short time John had been there, he did everything he could to avoid the man. But one day, something happened he couldn't ignore. This time, McDonald was packing up the things of another guest. John waited for weeks, hoping his friend would show up again. The shelter volunteers either had no idea or wouldn't share the details of another guest. He had to get to the bottom of it. Someone like him vanishing was serious. John mulled over the disappearance for weeks. The sudden absence of the officer was also suspicious. So, as soon as he got a glimpse of the blue uniform, he took a deep breath and went over. The next words were complete shock and not his. "Mr. Helinski?" McDonald asked. "I've been looking for you. I need you to come with me." No, no, no. It was supposed to be John's moment and his questions, not the officer. But even after demanded to know where his friend was, the answer left him fuming and filled with exponentially more worry. It was the same "I can't share those details" answer the volunteers had given. The officer flat out refused to talk about it. And worse, he found himself being driven downtown, answering a bunch of strange questions, and then pulled into a government office. "What happened to the other guys you took away?" John asked again. McDonald let out a sigh. "I tried to help them. Today, I'm going to try to help you. You said you lost some IDs. I'm here to try and help you find them." McDonald handed him a piece of paper. John read over the form. It was for a social security number. During one horrible night, a group of teens had beaten him and stole his wallet. Without his documents, he became truly invisible. However, that little number wasn't the biggest surprise on its way, not by a long shot. Something life-changing was up next. Besides the sin, McDonald was going to help him get his birth certificate too. He even went as far as to drive John to the old bank he had used before he had lost everything. It would be easier to open something there. When the teller typed in the information, her eyes went wide. John leaned in and squinted at the monitor. It seemed that there was an old bank account he had forgotten existed. And it wasn't just active. It was still receiving disability checks. He stared at the zeros with an unhinged jaw. Even the officer let out a huff of surprise. How much had accumulated? There was more than enough to get back on his feet and start a new life. He could even afford a small apartment. The simple cluster of numbers he had collected and discovered during the day had led to a homeless man's treasure independence. There was one more burning question he just had to ask. "Why do you do this?" The officer smiled and explained that he had gone through a troubled life when he was young, had also lived on the streets for a time. He knew just how hard it could be. His hardened attitude was just a byproduct of a hardened life. As for the missing guests, John faced a new problem. He could return and share his story of hope, but the officer explained how bad people often targeted any homeless person who advertised their good fortune. John was now free from his nightmare. The question was, who could he tell about it? Was he going to disappear?